You can know dozens of chord shapes and still freeze when somebody says we're in the key of A flat. This one page in my guitar lesson book contains a 3-step system that I use to solve that problem. In this lesson, I'll show you how to identify the key, find one note on the thick E string and place one simple grid over the neck to reveal the 3 major and 3 minor chords. And the same simple grid works in every major key, so there's no separate chord charts needed for every key and there is no more guessing. So let me show you what that gives us. Now the thing is, guys, I didn't memorize a special A flat chord chart for that. What I did was I found one note on the thick E string and then I placed the pattern over the top of it, and those chords appeared within that pattern. And the beautiful thing is that there are only 3 steps in understanding how this works. Name the key, find the tonic and place the grid. This is something called the L7 grid. So I should say, guys, you don't need perfect bar chords to understand this grid. To play the examples like I did, you will eventually need to know your bar chords, but all you really need to know is your major and minor, E and A shapes. You could play those. You could even play power chords as well, just so you can understand how to use this 3-part system today. First, we need to turn the musical symbols on the page into a key name. When you see these symbols, the first problem is going to be simply working out the name of the key. And what happens is these sharps or flats appear immediately after the treble clef, and these tell us which of the natural notes are altered to get the key signature. And for this lesson, their most useful job is going to be giving us the key name. And once we have that name, we can take that directly to the guitar. When we have no sharps or flats on the stave here, then that means we are by default in the key of C major. But if we get one sharp on here, this tells us we have changed key. You may have seen that we can add lots of other sharps. There is a sequence to this, which I will get into further in the lesson. And the same thing happens with the flats. So these symbols here, they serve a role of modifying the notes that live on that spot in the stave. So let's discover this key here. It has one sharp. And the beauty of sharp keys is what we do to find the key is we take the last sharp and move it up 1 fret. Now this sharp is on this line here, which is the F line. What it does is it tells us that that note becomes an F sharp. So the way we do it with the sharp keys is we take the last sharp and move it up 1 fret on the guitar or 1 note on the stave. So if this is an F sharp, then the G is going to be the next note. And this one here is the one that is our key. So that is telling us that we have a key of G. And this is the same for all sharp keys. The last sharp, if we move it up a half step or a semitone or 1 fret, then that is going to give us the key. Now, knowing the key name still doesn't tell us where the chords are, and that's why step 2 matters. We have to find the tonic. And the tonic is the note that starts the key. It's the tone of the key. So a handy way to look at it is to think, well, what's the last sharp in that key signature? And it was, for this key, it was an F sharp. And all we have to do now is to move that up a half step, which takes us here to the G, and that shows us our tonic. And this is going to be the same for all the sharp keys. We take that last sharp, we move it up half step, and that tells us what our key is. It's relatively easy with sharp keys. Once we know where to find the tonic, then this one movable pattern turns that single note into a complete map of the key. What we're going to do is we're going to place the L7 grid, because this reveals the chords in the key of G major. And I know that those are G, C, D, A minor, B minor, and E minor. But the cool thing is you will be able to work the chords out if you just use the grid. So let me play through those chords for you. There's G, that's going to be my chord 1, which is major. This is chord 4, which is a C, which is also major. Then we get the same shape. We move that up, we get chord 5, and that is also major. And this is the 7 portion of the grid. Now what we can also do is we can get the minors, and we're going to go from chord 2 here. Yes, so we're using that as our reference point. So now we're using the L shape there to help us to find the minors. So here is chord 2, which is A minor. Here's the B minor here, and then that's chord 3, and then a jump over here to chord 6, which is E minor. So without this 3-step system, G major is only a name, but with the L7 grid, it becomes a reusable map. So that was a complete journey with a sharp key. Now let's see the same 3 steps and how they work with flats. Now I don't expect everybody to understand what this means here, but if you do know, this time see whether you can identify the key before I tell you. Now you might be thinking, do I take the last flat and make that go up half a step again? No, it works differently than the sharp key signatures. With flat keys, the next to last flat there is the key. So this is on a B flat here, so this is going to give me the key of B flat like that, or I could put it as that in the short form way of writing it there. So the thing to remember is with the flat keys, it's the next to last flat that is the key. So now we know that, what we want to do now is follow the 3-step process and find the tonic. So the cool thing that you may have realized by now is that the key signature tells us the note name we need to find the physical location of the tonic for the key. And B flat is here on the 6th fret of the thick E string. Because if we take a B here and we flatten it 1, then you can see that's where it lives. Now that we have the tonic, we know where to find chords 1, 4, and 5, which are our major chords, using that 7 shape pattern of the L7 grid. Let me play those. 1, 4, 5, those are as majors. And we can also find 2, 3, and 6 using the L part of our grid. Here goes 6, 3, 2 as well. Okay, so I can turn that into chord progressions like I did before. I played we're here, which is a 1, 6, 4, and then a 5. I've just moved that same pattern I played in G, but what I've done is I've played it now in the key of B flat. And that means that same system that we had in G major, we can use in B flat major. And this helps us to unlock all the different key signatures that start on different frets, but the beautiful thing is the whole process doesn't change at all. So just to drill this in, guys, I'm going to say it again. Name the key that you want, find the tonic, then place the grid. And once you place the grid, you will find the chords. You've now used the 3-step system successfully. The only remaining job is to remember the order in which these musical symbols appear. And in both the sharp and the flat keys, we end up with a maximum of 7 sharps or 7 flats in a key signature. But there is a cool little mnemonic in the book. Battle ends and down goes Charles's father. And this is the order of the flats. So if we had 1 flat, it would be battle. And if we had 2 flats, it would be battle ends. And like I said before, it's the next to last flat that is the key. Now the funny thing is without getting too technical about it, if we only have 1 flat, then that is the key of F. I'll tell you that again in a bit, just to state those rules that you need to know. If we had 3 flats, B flat, E flat and A flat, then E flat would be the key. Okay, so we only go back 1 in this mnemonic. So if we had B flat, E flat, A flat and D flat on the key signature, then we go back 1 flat, and that tells us what the key is. It would be A flat. We have to include the flats in there, guys. Now, a cool thing happens with this saying, battle ends and down goes Charles's father. If we say the saying backwards, Father Charles goes down and ends battle, it's part of the same story. It's almost like a palindrome mnemonic, but it's really cool because we get to be able to understand both keys but have one saying. We just reverse it. If we reverse this saying, battle ends and down goes Charles's father, to get Father Charles goes down and ends battle, then we end up with the order of the sharps that are added to the stave. Now this is a bit easier because if we add an F sharp, then we don't have to think too hard because all we need to do is raise that last sharp. But this is the order we would add them in. We would have an F sharp, we would have a C sharp, a G sharp, a D sharp, an A sharp, an E sharp, careful, and then a B sharp, doubly careful. Now there is a lot more theory with this, but the thing that you really need to understand is with the sharps, the last sharp plus 1 fret equals the key. So if we had A sharp here and we move it up a half step, that gives us the key of B. With flats, it's always going to be the next to last flat. We don't have to move, we just go directly to it. With C major, we have no sharps or flats. But when it comes to F major, all we have to do is remember that we have 1 flat, which is a B flat. And we have to consider that when we're playing our notes. So these are really the only key identification rules that you need for this step-by-step method. Last sharp, up 1 fret, next to last flat, no symbols in C major, and 1 flat is F major. Just memorize that there, guys. And that means once you have the key name, everything returns to that same process. Find the tonic and then place the grid. Now this is where the theory stops being something on a page and becomes really useful in an actual music scenario. Somebody at a jam says we're in the key of G. You no longer have to wait for somebody to tell you every chord that you need to play. You find the G, which we know if we go up from the F sharp, we're up a half step, we're going to find the tonic there, we're going to place the L7 grid, and then we get the chords. They all live in that grid there. So that's a really useful way to do that. No getting your chord books out of your gig bag or any of that stuff. Another way that we can look at this is with written music. So this is the scenario. You're going to open a piece of music and you're going to see a key signature. Here we have Still Raining, Still Dreaming by Jimi Hendrix. And what I want you to do is look at this little bit of information here. It is massively important. We can see that the order of the flats follows our little mnemonic. It goes B, E, A, battle, ends, and. So if we get that next to last flat here, this one, that tells us we are in the key of E flat. And that would make sense because we're dealing with Jimi Hendrix here, and Jimi Hendrix always played a half step down. And we can do that with the sharps as well, but this is why it's so useful. You can look at this if you're learning the songs so that you can play them at the jam or with your band or for yourself. So for that key of E flat, we would have our tonic here on the 11th fret because that is where the E flat lives. Remember, Jimmy tuned to E flat, so the open string would be E flat as well, so we have to consider that. Now the thing with finding and knowing where this L7 grid is, it allows you to move the same harmonic relationships to another key without rebuilding all your chords from scratch. And this is great if your singer is struggling to sing in the original key. So let's look at a 6-2-5-1 in the key of G. So here's 1, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. So there's the 6. My 2 was here, 2, there's my 5 here, and here's my 1. Let me play that. Now, let's say we don't have to alter this too much for our singer. Maybe we only have to modify it a little and take it down to the key of F sharp. Let's do it down a half step. We don't have to rebuild everything. Now this is chord 1, this is chord 4, this is chord 5, this is chord 6, this is chord 3, and this is chord 2. Notice I didn't have to think to myself, well, what chord is that? What's the chord name? I knew that that was F sharp, so that's generally going to be enough, but it will help if you go, all right, that's going to be B major, B, C sharp major. And these might be chords that you never considered before because you don't know the shapes, but you do know the shapes if you know these E and A shapes. So we've got 1, 4, 5 there, we've got 6, 3, 2, and the chord progression we had was 6, 2, 5, 1. So it goes 6, 2, 5, and then 1. What you'll find is that later this same 3-step process can help you to organize your scales, know where your arpeggios live, and importantly, know where your chord tones live as well. But for today, the win that we have is simpler. We have one key name, and that becomes a usable map of 6 chords. Now, let's see whether you can complete the full 3-step process without me. Here is a little quiz for you, just to test your knowledge of the key signature. What is the key? I'm just going to pause a moment and let you have a little look at this. Tell me, what is the key? And where would you find the tonic for this key on the thick E string? Because that's going to tell you where to place the grid. So let's recap. When you see a key signature, what you need to do is name the key and find that tonic on the thick E string. And once you have found that tonic on the thick E string, that's when you place the L7 grid. The 7 portion, let's do it in G here, that reveals where chords 1, 4 and 5, your major chords, live. The L portion of the pattern, that reveals where your minors live. Here's chord 2, chord 3 and chord 6. So now you should see that the difficulty is not understanding this just once, it's remembering the rules each and every time you pick up the guitar. Everything that we've used in this 3-step method is condensed into this one page in the book, the mnemonic, the 2 key signature rules that we need to know about sharps and flats, finding the tonic notes, and also the L7 grid. And this is lesson 18 of 80 in my ultimate YouTube guitar lesson compilation, and every lesson in this book links back to its full video tutorial, which this is a reshoot of. So you can watch the video explanation, then keep the page beside you while you practice, instead of trying to remember the entire video in one go, and the link is below in the description. So now you know where to place the L7 grid and what it shows you. But if you want to understand how the L7 grid is constructed and why those chords appear in those positions, then you need to watch lesson 14 from the book next, and it's on screen now.